Man United nil, Wolves won. I'm pretty sure nobody here really cares about the result. I know we lost. I know we lost to a very good free kick by Pablo Sarabia, but you know what? That result, even if we had won, wouldn't have made much of a difference. We had Amass starting, we had Fredricson starting, Eriksson, Lindelof, players who do not normally start for us. So, is it a surprise that we lost? At the same time, we can say there were many positives we can take. For the first time, despite a bad performance, despite things not going our way, we can still pick out positives. Now, what are these positives? Number one, we understand again that not all the players are the problem. We understand that if Amorim plays more technical players, we actually put in a decent performance. Look at the first half, for instance. We had Fredricson, who can actually surprisingly progress the ball well from defense. Amass was then bombing down the left flank. He was putting in crosses. Now, along with Amass, you can see some other players. Eriksson, Lindelof, Mazraoui, Dorgu, and Kobe Mino. What do these players have in common? They can keep the ball rolling, they don't take too many touches, and the ball is away from them. What happens when the ball goes away from them instantly? Basically, you can keep the ball, we can keep possession, we can keep the ball going to the direction where we want, and it's within our control. We can have a control over the game, which you could say in the first half at least, minimum, we did have control over that game. Yes, it was 0-0, but that's because of what? The quality. We have Garnacho and Højlund up front. What are you supposed to do? But that's where I pin the blame on Amorim. This is why I always blame Amorim. Why I'm saying this manager is not finally good enough. You can say he's good enough to get top 4. He might be, But the one problem I see with Amorim is that, let's say we're in a Champions League final and he has to make a crucial decision, whether that's a tactical substitution, whether that's a tactical change in game, that could save our game. Maybe we need 2 banks of 4 with 2 strikers up front instead of the 3-4-3 that he wants to play. Or maybe we want to go even deeper. Will he necessarily make the change? Will he go more offensive when needed? Maybe not. If you look at what Amorim does wrong, the players that he picks in-game, the players that he persists with, Højlund, Dalot, Garnacho, and the list goes on. Number 2 is misprofiling of players. How long does he take to understand that Kobe Mino is not a pivot player? How long did he persist with Mino in the pivot, even though all the fans started screaming, Mino's a 10, Mino's a 10. And now you actually put Mino in the 10 and you realize, okay, he's not bad. So you're already laid there. People have already been screaming, Dalot's a waste of space on the right. So now finally, you put Dorgu on the right and suddenly we're crossing the ball better and we're actually carrying more of a threat. Is that a big surprise? You drop one of your worst players and you play better. Now, the same thing with Højlund. When Højlund was playing, he was a net negative. Once you regress to this level, there's no coming back up. Garnacho again trying a couple of dribbles, thinking he's Cristiano, but then what happens in the final third? When he has to make a decision, he will put that cutback into the box. He doesn't look at who it might be. He does not look at, is there an option I can cut back? Because the only way he does cut back and pass is pass back to, let's say, one of our left wing backs who are already far behind. No way does any of his passes or any of his shots even carry threat. So Garnacho is that way. Then you have Højlund and then you have Dalot. And it's the same problems that persist again and again. And Amorim does not learn. With a manager like Ruben, I can only say one thing. If you think that your starting 11 players are the best players, that would mean that they're the players you trust the most. Or that's the style that you want to really go for. Now you see, when you played your substitutes in this game, when you started your substitutes, we played better football than we have played in the last 1 or 2 months. What's that all about? So basically that implies you play more technical players, you play better football. Who would have thought? Yet Amorim wants to keep these kind of players on the bench. He does not like players like Zirkzee. He does not really actually appreciate players like Mino either. He prefers a player like Dalot, like Ugarte. If we were to really break it down from a technical standpoint, Harry Amass is actually better than Dorgu at this point. Because why? Amass doesn't rush the ball. Dorgu rushes the ball way too much. As a left wing back, the more I see Amass, the more I'm sold on his idea. More I'm sold on his profile being better suited to the left wing back spot than a Patrick Dorgu. Because Patrick Dorgu, if we were to compare the two, Dorgu excels physically, Amass excels technically. And by putting in more accurate crosses. 2 crosses I saw in the first half, which if there were better strikers in the team, if there was a striker who would anticipate that space, he would be there to attack the ball. But in our team, Nothing of that sort. And now we're behind not only in possession, but we're behind also in chance creation. People are saying we're creating chances in this game. I don't understand. Even Amorim said we were creating so many chances after the game. I was thinking, what chances were they? If you were to talk about Amass's chance as a chance created, there was no striker involved there. And we weren't playing hoofball. That was the best thing I could say. Because Fredricson was putting in some good set pieces, some good corners, some free kicks. That way we were carrying threat. But apart from that, the only thing I can say is that we were just boring. Was there anything more than that we were boring? Who do we blame for this? Well, there's only one man. It's the manager. It's the manager who persists with a certain profile of players. Now, people might be telling me, Ahmad is injured, Zirkzee is injured. All I'm saying is, go back to December, go back to January when these players were fit. Were we playing any better? Was the style of football any better? Now, you might say, oh, Forest are performing very well, Bournemouth are performing well, Newcastle are performing well. These same teams have been absolutely struggling ever since, right? Yeah, I know Newcastle beat us last week. But what happened this week? Didn't Villa just beat them 4-1? This is the kind of league we're in. It's an inconsistent league where inconsistent teams are performing. Newcastle's third place right now. I don't know how that happens, but Newcastle is in third place. So, are you telling me that Newcastle is invincible? And that if they go into the Champions League next season, do you think they really make it past the quarterfinals? Probably not. So they aren't this irrepressible team that we cannot stop. The only reason why we are struggling right now is because Amorim sets us poorly against teams like Newcastle, against teams like Bournemouth, against teams like Forest. Because if the teams play your basics right, if they do the basics right, we completely struggle. We only succeed when there are teams like Lyon who do not have that final edge. In the final third, they do not have the finishing product. So then they can just play around, they can try to do things, and you know what? Somehow we'll nick it. Why? Because we always make it a basketball game. It has been the same under Ten Hag. It's been the same under Amorim as well. We just play this basketball football afterwards. Because why? These managers are unwilling to take a risk. They are unwilling to put wingers, in Amorim's case, at wing back, which would make us way better going forward. But no, you persist with a back five. Let's just call it a back five, because if you have Dogu, okay, Dogu is a bit more of an attacking option, but Dalot is a defensive option. So this means that you want the wingbacks to track back into a back five when defending. There's no problem with a back five, by the way, when you're defending. But the only thing is, if you have a back five defending, you have to be better at defending than a back four. Like, that's natural because you have an extra centre back in there. So if you want to play back five, you want to teach positional awareness to all the players involved. The only thing is, we don't have a sense of position. We don't have a sense of positional awareness. There was a corner in the first half, which is so similar to all the goals that we concede. You look back to any corner that we concede, Forest, Wolves in the first game. It all happens the exact same way, and it's just because I think it was Totti. He just missed the header by that much. His header glanced over by just that much. If it was any closer, it would have been hitting the post, rebounding off one of our players' own goal. Or Onana would have helped us out anyway to score into own goal. So the setup is not right. Whatever we're doing right now, we have to change things and play more technical players. That's what we have understood. Every time Amorim plays more technical players, we play better by default. Look at the Man City game when we won at the Etihad. We were struggling. We were losing control of the game at 1-0. We bring on Anthony and suddenly we have more control of the game. We put Anthony at right wing back. We have Ahmad in the 10. And suddenly we have more control. And then we go on to win it. You can call it lucky, but you know what? It's actually calculated because you bring on the right subs, you bring on the right players, you have the right players on the pitch, and they suddenly play better. Why do you think it is that when Højlund comes on, it does pretty much nothing? But when Zirkzee comes on, there's a big impact. Why do you think when Mino comes on, there's a big impact? When Fredricson comes on, there's a big impact. Casemiro comes on, big impact. But then players like Garnacho come on, players like Højlund come on. Yes, there's an impact, but Is there the final third cutting edge that we want? Probably not. This is because you play technical players, you succeed. You don't play technical players, you flop. Amass, good performance. Fredricson, good performance. I can't really pin a blame on the defense, even though we lost, because it's a free kick. Sarabia scored a free kick. What do you do about that? I can't pin a blame on the defense. It's the same old suspects. Garnacho, Hoyland in the attack. Mino, again, playing very silky football. But if you don't get players around him, how is he supposed to perform? Fortunate thing is, Ahmad's nearly back. When Ahmad is back, the team will perform to a much higher level. Why? Because Ahmad is just that good. Now, I'm not saying that from game one, he'll be that good, because he was in a protective boot. Just like Aiden Heaven, he was in a protective boot. It is going to take him time to come back. But once they're back, even Heaven's going to help us out again. Ahmad's going to help us out. And slowly, if we had Zirkzee, it would have been a much better team. But unfortunately, we don't have that option. So Ahmad is better than nothing else. And we're all just banking on that Europa League. Because if we don't get the Europa League, however you take it, it's the worst season in our last 50 years. So all I'm saying is, from this game, if you want to take one thing away, when Amorim plays technical players, we succeed. When he doesn't, when he plays more runners, when he plays more physical players over technical players, we usually struggle. Does Amorim need to play more technical players with physicality, or should he just play physical brutes like Ugarte? That's all your call. That's the manager's call. Whoever, make up your own mind about it. Anyways, thank you all for watching. That's Man United 0, Wolves 1. Like, subscribe, and see you all in the next one.